Here we go. Why the UFC sucks
In
now?
a dark place right now. Technically, it is more mainstream and successful.
Oh, you know why it sucks now? It's because they did a deal with WWE and it's also affecting WWE. There's too much sponsors. It doesn't really feel like it used to back in the day. Or not even like 5, 10 years ago. I'm talking about the WWE perspective, but I also heard like the UFC is not what it was before. It feels different. It doesn't feel right.
Than ever, but for longtime fans, something just feels off. Back in the day, fans watched because there was a real story to follow. Rivalries felt per live movie, and fighters were either heroes or villains that we actually cared about. And the man behind creating those epic moments was Dana White. He used to share with the fans the same burning passion for the world of mixed martial arts and was desperate to prove that it was the most electrifying sport in the world, but not anymore. Dana is entirely checked out of the empire he worked so hard to build, now focused entirely on building his new dystopian sport called Power Slap, where the main event is Dana White versus his wife. But make no mistake, the
What?
UFC is not dying. With a $1.5 billion ESPN deal, weekly Apex cards, and record revenue, the UFC finally figured out the formula for guaranteed success. But in doing so, they traded passion for profits. The events blend together.
Oh yeah, they're pushing the slap, bro. Remember when we watched those videos on stream, the slap events? Guess what? They're becoming mainstream now. Yeah, they're inviting celebrities. They're inviting a lot of streamers and content creators now. I remember that the slap event started with Penguin Zero. That's what I found out about it, right? About like the slap stuff. It's so crazy. It's becoming like an actual big event now. That's insane. Insane. Bro, slapping, guys. Because there were also like little other versions of slapping. I think there was like a like I don't think it was serious, but like there were like female slapping. There was also female slapping on their butts. Like that was the thing. I think it was even boobs at one point. There's also like there's different kind of versions of these slapping things. I don't know, man. It is a weird genre, but we learned about it. We did learn about it all thanks to Penguin Zero. So shout out to you, Penguin.
And that emotional connection we once had feels like it's fading for most viewers. We are officially in the UFC Dark Ages, and today we're going to discuss what went wrong and what the future looks like for the UFC. Combat sports are inherently entertaining. After all, humans have been fighting in front of crowds for thousands of years. It's borderline in our DNA, but many fans overlook one major facet that takes these battles to the next level: the story. The story makes you care about the fight. It gets
True,
you
it's like
involved in the
wrestling.
fight, and without the story, it can be just random violence. The UFC and Dana White used to understand this perfectly. When George St. Pierre fought Josh Koscheck, it wasn't just about who was more skilled, it was a national hero defending his country's pride against the brash, arrogant loudmouth everyone wanted to see humbled. GSP was respectful, disciplined, and quiet. Koscheck was loud, disrespectful, and unapologetic about it.
This fight is about Josh Koscheck knocking out George St. Pierre and off 23,000 French Canadians.
When Anderson Silva fought Chael Sonnen, it felt like a comic book clash between greatness and delusion. Silva was the soft-spoken champion with an aura of mystery and near invincibility. Sonnen was the trash-talking underdog who ran his mouth so long and so loud that even people who didn't know MMA were tuning in, hoping to see him get knocked out or maybe pull off the impossible.
Well, first off, I offer absolutely zero apologies. And secondly, listen, guys, if you're not willing to go too far, you will never go far enough in life. And I don't care. I don't promote fights. I pick fights. I'm like John Jones. I sound like Sean Combs. And I got trombone-sized stones like John Holmes.
And then there was Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, the biggest fight in UFC history, which was a full-blown culture war. Conor was the cocky and belligerent Irish superstar who was drunk off whiskey, blabbering into the microphone. He was offensive, flashy, and honestly hilarious, turning every press conference into a circus.
It's because like UFC, it's a lot like wrestling, guys. Because UFC, when it started and how they build stories, it's like WWE. You have your heel and you have your baby face, right? Also, you have like anti-hero like character too as well, obviously. But when they treated things like that, even though it's like kind of like almost say real beef, but because again, it's not really real beef. It's just your next opponent kind of thing, right? They build some great stories because they knew, like, some people know, like some people, like some fighters just know. All right, I got to play the heel. Like, this is who I am. I'm more of a heel than a face. Like, that's like how it is, right? And now it's just so weird. It like the UFC is just so weird how things are now. Honestly, like, when's the last time you guys been excited for a UFC fight? I wonder.
On the other side, Khabib was calm, stoic, devoutly religious, and most importantly, undefeated. He didn't care about fame or attention. He wanted to silence Conor's chaos with discipline and dominance in the name of Allah. For each of these fights, fans picked a side like they were standing behind two generals headed straight at each other for war. But today, there is no reason to rally behind a major fight. Most people don't even look forward to it anymore. Saturday just rolls around and you think, is there a fight tonight? And there is. Okay, I guess I'll watch it. And make no mistake, there are still incredible fighters that are well worth watching, but skill alone will not carry this sport long term. Fans want heroes to cheer for and villains.
If an app was built on an AI code platform but no one has published it, did it ever really exist? Fiverr has the answer, a pool of development experts ready to help.
Sorry.
To root against their meaning. But these stories don't just magically appear. They are carefully crafted for years, and the man responsible for developing most of these iconic narratives is Dana White. For 25 years, Dana was the face of the UFC after he became the president of the company in 2001. Along with countless other behind-the-scenes tasks, Dana took on the crucial role of the promoter. But he wasn't only trying to sell fights for profits, he wanted the people to care the same way he cared. He was the guy in front of every camera, at every weigh-in, at every press conference, telling you why this fight mattered. This level of passion and presence built the UFC into what it is today.
You want to hear how pathetic this is? I have no hobbies or interests outside of the UFC. This is all I do is work. It's so sick and so twisted. You know, Lorenzo and I live next to each other right now. So all we do is, you know, if we're not at work, we're talking about work on the phone, or we're at each other's house working, and now he's moving. And we're talking about me moving because he's moving so that we still live. That's how sick this is.
A massive company needs a central figure who is deeply passionate about their product. If you need a more obvious example of why the promoter matters, look at Vince McMahon's role for the WWE. The rivalries and betrayals build tension long before the bell rings. The promos are arguably more entertaining than the matches. You are not just watching two stuntmen fly around a ring, you are watching a story unfold. And all of the best storylines in WWE history had Vince involved, whether he was controlling the narrative behind the scenes or he was literally playing heel to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And just like the WWE, the UFC does have to manufacture superstardom to some degree. Now, Dana White is not necessarily a part of the fighter's storyline, but he is a huge decision maker when it comes to who gets promoted. These fighters get pushed heavily on the UFC's very popular social media accounts. They get highlight reels at major events and get the chance to fight top-tier opponents. And for a very long time, they were excellent at this. The list of icons is long. Chuck Liddell, one of the first mainstream poster boys of the sport. Dana White was able to use his connections to get Chuck on Jimmy Kimmel, Conan, ESPN interviews, and Good Morning America. These appearances helped push UFC fighters beyond fight fans and into the general public's living rooms. Anderson Silva, Dana often referred to as the greatest fighter ever. Forrest Griffin was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter 1 and was on the cover of the UFC 2009 Undisputed video game. These opportunities don't just happen. Dana personally has to make it happen, and when he hyped up the fighters, it made fans more excited.
GSP is going to defend his title against Nick Diaz. Anderson Silva will defend his title this summer, and before the end of this year, we will see a super fight with either GSP and Anderson Silva or Anderson Silva and John Jones.
And even though Dana has an undeniable knack for recognizing and building superstars, some saw his power as a bad thing, because favoritism can bring someone to the top that may not deserve it. You see, the biggest difference between the WWE and the UFC is that the WWE can also control the outcome of the fight. The UFC can't. Dana could spend months, years building up a fighter as a ruthless badass, only for them to get slumped in the first round. Or maybe Dana's personal favorite gets to skip through the ranks quickly and not have to fight through an entire division of killers to get a title shot. And many believe that the most recent example of this is Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley was carefully built up as a UFC superstar from the moment he emerged on Dana White's Contender Series in 2017. His one-punch knockouts, rainbow-colored hair, and Twitch streamer gamer persona made him immediately marketable to a younger audience. The UFC put him on high-profile cards, gave him favorable matchups, and heavily promoted him across social media. But as the hype grew, hardcore fans started to push back. They criticized that he hadn't fought many ranked contenders and accused the UFC of protecting him to preserve his star power. When he lost to Marlon Chito Vera in 2020, many fans took it as proof that O'Malley wasn't the elite fighter the promotion made him out to be. However, he had a convenient nerve injury that made it seem like he didn't have a true loss, which allowed him to keep his contender status. He continued to beat guys in the division with style, which made Dana smile from ear to ear. Part of O'Malley's appeal was that he smoked grass, lived the high life, and had hair that looked like a gender reveal party, far from the disciplined warriors we typically see. He shocked UFC fans when he TKO'd the champion Aljamain Sterling for the belt and then defended his title against Chito Vera. It was almost looking like Dana was right all along, but then there was a fight that Sean O'Malley could not avoid. Merab Dvalishvili, the positive, humble Georgian who had not lost a fight in 6 years. In the first bout, Sean looked absolutely stuck in the ring against Merab, and it cost him the title. But because Dana loves Sean and is a huge draw for the UFC, he got the immediate rematch. This time, the build-up for this fight was deplorable, with MMA media running with the narrative that Sean was so prepared for the rematch that he stopped gooning and smoking weed. Wow. Well, he got absolutely pummeled the second time, getting submitted by Merab, who is not a submission artist, in the third round.
One question about Sean, too. Obviously, 2 back-to-back losses to the same champion, a dominant champion here, puts him in kind of a weird place career-wise because, you know, it's almost like that Max Holloway thing, lose twice to Volkanovski in back-to-back succession. What do you kind of see for him going forward?
Well, I mean, O'Malley's got to go home, take some time off, spend some time with his family, do all this stuff, and then let us know what he's thinking. I have no idea where his head's at or where his head's going to be in a month. So this is one of those things, you let this kid go home and enjoy his life for a little while and clear his head and figure out what he wants, and then come back and tell us, and we'll figure it out.
I love how sad Dana always sounds when his money boys lose. Now, this is actually kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, fans want Dana to be more involved with the marketing and promotion, but on another, they want him to remove his bias and favoritism. This is now known as Dana White privilege, thanks to Tony Ferguson.
I'm gonna be real. You got this attitude. You got Dana White privilege. Tony. Thanks, Dana.
Many UFC fans believe that Dana's favoritism has prevented others from getting their fair shot at superstardom, like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, who defended the flyweight title 11 times, but Dana never promoted him like the other champs. And despite being one of the most technical fighters in UFC history, he was traded away to 1 championship for Ben Askren. Now, at the time, the trade seemed highly disrespectful. Instead of figuring out a way to build DJ as a superstar, they got rid of him for someone easier to market. Ben Askren was an undefeated, trash-talking Olympian who had dominated outside the UFC and insisted that he was better than everyone on the roster. His cockiness made him a polarizing figure, which made fans want to either see him prove his greatness or get humbled. And they got what they wanted when he was on the losing end of the fastest knockout in UFC history. And while trading DJ seemed disrespectful, objectively it seemed to create the most entertaining outcome in the end. In my personal opinion, I think it's a net positive the more Dana White tries to push anyone as a superstar, even if we feel like they don't deserve it, because at the very least it gives us a villain to root against. So now you're starting to see this ever-present complicated stacking nuance here.
Right,
You see
right.
MMA fans say a fighter's job is to fight and the promoter's job is to promote. Like, in theory, it shouldn't matter if a fighter is quiet, awkward, or unwilling to trash talk. If they win fights, they should get pushed. But in reality, promotion is built on storylines, personalities, and emotion. And when a fighter shows no charisma, gives bland interviews, and turns down media, it puts all the pressure on the UFC to craft a narrative from nothing. But there used to be ways to build excitement and build storylines even if there wasn't much to work with. Like, take press conferences, for example. It felt like just yesterday, press conferences were a full-blown show themselves. Like, it wasn't just some pre-game.
Yeah, people bought tickets for it and everything, yeah.
Psychological warfare in front of a live audience. Fans and media packed into rooms waiting to see fighters come face to face, trash talk, and build excitement.
This guy.
I remember a funny one, which is not it wasn't a real like a real wait-in and press conference, all that kind of thing. It was the Jason Voorhees and versus Freddy Krueger. I remember when they were promoting that as a big movie, which it was. It was like the first time they were doing a crossover, and that was successful. What I heard, it was successful. What it was, I don't know about the movie though, but like the press conference worked wonders for them, dude. It worked really wonders.
TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't move. They're not. Who the is that guy? Who the is that?
I mean, do you understand, Errol? You and everybody else waited in the weather. You came to the press conference. Vandalay, it looks like he found a bathroom as a backdrop in the men's shelter he's living at in Rio and got somebody to point his cell phone at his face.
I'm done talking to you. You can't be done talking to me. You're right here facing me, dummy. You gotta talk to me. You got no choice. You got nowhere to go.
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park, the ponytail. I'm the one who ain't got no training partner. I don't think so. You seem to have it all figured out when you're fighting midget.
Now, most of the time, you get what looks like a corporate board meeting with two guys having a compliment contest for 10 minutes. The drama and unpredictability of these events are mostly gone. Then again, it's back to what we said before. Looking at it from a business perspective, does it make sense for the UFC to spend all this money and pack out a venue for a press conference just for two dudes to love each other on stage? The UFC is now a multi-billion-dollar business, so it's easy to understand why they prioritize finance, because most of the time, what is best for the story is not best for profit. And there are a few key ways that the UFC used to create great stories that they have seemingly abandoned. Firstly, hometown and enemy territory events. The concept mimicked what almost every other sport does: create a home team advantage. They would host the fight in a major city close to the hometown of one of the fighters, where 90% of the audience is cheering for their hometown hero to win, which meant that the away fighter became the enemy, walking out to deafening boos, death threats in the DMs, and sometimes an entire nation hoping they get knocked out. The stakes felt personal, and it created tension that even casual viewers could feel through the screen. Like at UFC 158, GSP versus Nick Diaz in Montreal, Quebec. GSP was Canada's national treasure who represented everything honorable about martial arts, and the UFC put this fight in his hometown of Montreal, where 20,000 fans packed the Bell Center to support. Nick Diaz, on the other hand, was the exact opposite: a trash-talking, weed-smoking brawler from Stockton, California. He disrespected GSP constantly in the lead-up, pledging to embarrass him in front of his home country, and Canadians booed Diaz as loud as they possibly could at him that night. When GSP dominated Diaz in front of a roaring hometown crowd, it felt like the entire nation of Canada was defending their champion's legacy. But the craziest moments are when an away fighter wins in enemy territory, silencing the boos from thousands of fans. Like at UFC 77, Rich Franklin vs. Anderson Silva 2. Rich Franklin was Cincinnati's golden boy, a former math teacher turned middleweight champion. He represented the Middle America everyman, humble and hardworking.
Oh no!
Anderson Silva was the dominant Brazilian champion invading enemy soil to defend his belt. Thousands of fans came out to support Franklin in what they hoped would be his redemption arc after getting brutally knocked out by Silva the first time. But Silva didn't just beat him, he dismantled him, finishing Franklin with devastating knees to the head, silencing the sold-out Cincinnati crowd.
Damn.
The home versus away concept can even make non-championship fights more exciting, like on UFC Fight Night in Liverpool, where Darren Till faced off against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Till walked out to roaring cheers from his die-hard hometown fans. Even though there was no belt on the line, the atmosphere made it feel as important as a championship fight. When Till won, the entire city of Liverpool won too. But in recent years, the UFC has mostly abandoned hometown or enemy territory events.
Why?
Instead, we get neutral site cards in Las Vegas or sterile matchups at the UFC
Wait, why?
Apex. The Apex was originally introduced during the pandemic. It's a smaller venue that let the UFC hold events safely. It's also much faster and cheaper for them. Sure, it's more efficient for the UFC, but it drains the energy out of almost every fight. The only fight I can think of benefiting from being held in the Apex was Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson, because the sounds of Gaethje beating the hell out of Tony added weight to his eventual downfall.
Look at that. Oh my goodness.
It doesn't matter how talented the fighters are, watching an event in the Apex is like watching hard sparring in a gym. The Apex cards are the pinnacle of minimum effort. No advertising for the event, base contract fighters except the main event and the feature prelim. Not even in-house media during the week of. Literally, the YouTube MMA community does so much more than the UFC to drive attention to these events. Most Saturdays I just Google if there's an event or not because they're so bad at promotion. Dana has become such a shifty promoter this last decade that we're lucky he isn't involved as heavily in big decisions now, and that lack of effort has even trickled over to main pay-per-view
I thought they were
the UFC has clearly prioritized America.
By the way, guys, I feel like they're too chibi compared to this Spider-Man, so I'm making them bigger, more lankier. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Typically Las Vegas, so they can maximize their profit, but they miss out on some of that emotional electricity that made past events unforgettable. The crowd isn't filled with diehard fans screaming for their hero or booing the villain. It's basically filled with whoever can afford to travel all the way to Vegas and pay over $1,000 for a ticket, which often leads to a lot of celebrities in the crowd who are barely paying attention, but just there to be seen. And without that tribal energy from the crowds, even the best matchups can feel strangely hollow. Take UFC 319 for example. The main event is Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis for the title. On paper, it's an amazing fight, and it probably will be a great one, but emotionally, who cares? Du Plessis just became the first ever South African UFC champion. Imagine if his first title defense was in South Africa. Picture the atmosphere if
Damn.
Johannesburg or Cape Town and fight du Plessis in front of thousands of passionate local fans. It would instantly become a historic moment. Instead, they're fighting in Chicago, a city neither fighter has any connection to because neither of them are American. The event won't have the same aura without the hometown advantage. It's just another title fight. But it's easy to see why hosting the fight in Chicago is a smarter financial decision. UFC 238 was hosted in Chicago in 2019, and they generated over $2 million from 16,000 fans. UFC 225 at the United Center pulled in $2.5 million from 18,000 fans. Compare that to the largest indoor arena in South Africa, Pretoria Arena, which only holds about 10,000 seats. Even at premium pricing, a packed venue might reach $1 million or less, simply due to size constraints. Chicago delivers nearly double or more in gate revenue thanks to higher capacity.
Okay, that makes sense.
Demand. Another storytelling driver that the UFC has seemingly lost sight of is The Ultimate Fighter and Dana White's Contender Series. The Ultimate Fighter is a reality TV series where up-and-coming fighters live together and compete for a UFC contract.
Wasn't that one machine guy was there?
Stars as coaches,
War Machine?
teams through training
Isn't he in prison?
and weekly elimination bouts until one winner remains. TUF used to be a machine for building stars. Forrest Griffin, Rashad Evans, Michael Bisping, Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz are just a few of the many that got their initial hype from the show. And even though this show might feel like cheap reality TV, the best part is that it's closer to actual reality. When these guys get in each other's faces and make threats, they are all more than capable of backing it up. So if a fight is about to break out, it's real. This ain't Love Island. It feels like The Ultimate Fighter is still running just because it used to be popular. The format needs a full revamp, or the tournament needs higher stakes, like a $1 million prize for the winner. Bigger rewards would attract better talent and raise the level of competition. It would also elevate the drama, which is what makes fans care about these fighters long before they ever step
People love
into the
drama.
octagon. But as we've said time and time again, It requires marketing. People have to care about this show if you want them to care about upcoming fighters. Which brings up a very interesting point. When the UFC was growing, Dana was trying to prove to the world that the UFC was the most electrifying sport on the planet. So they had the incentive to put on the best event possible, to create the best show possible, to make the most engaging storylines possible. And of course, they were trying to make money, but the way to make money was to make the best product possible. And the work they put in for the past 25 years to produce that great product is what allows them to be lazy today.
That
Their
much
minimal
better. It
promotion,
fits this
unexciting
better.
talent scouting, and
Much
neutral
better, guys.
locations are still producing massive profits for them. The UFC pulled in $1.45 billion in 2024, which is up from $1.2 billion in 2023. In Q4 alone, live events generated $64 million. UFC 306 at the Sphere broke records with a $21 million gate, the highest in UFC history. And since Dana White is producing record profits for the company, it's unlikely things will change. These days, Dana and the UFC as a whole seem completely absent from valuable promotion. The best we get is him posting a selfie video on his Instagram with a fake excited voice while reading off a script.
What's up, everybody? It's Fight Week Live this Saturday night from the sold-out Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. The main event, Marab versus Sugar Sean O'Malley for the bantamweight title.
Another perfect example is the nothingness they gave fans at UFC
what?
310.
So we get a press conference
I want to say, boom. Sorry, that's I feel like you just say at the end.
without Dana, which makes it less interesting.
Boom.
We get no real promotional pieces on the fighters that are interesting at all. Basically, we get embeddeds, which are low-level vlogs, which basically just shows, oh, Pantoja got a haircut? Oh, Gary's playing with his kid? Oh, yeah. Oh, they're getting picked up at the airport? Oh, they're going to show B-roll of them riding down the street in Las Vegas or getting dropped off at the press conference? Oh, my God. I don't even watch the embeddeds anymore. I don't care about the embeddeds at all.
But the main reason why Dana is checked out of the UFC is because he is spending most of his marketing efforts on growing an entirely new sport called Power Slap. Power Slap is a sport based around two guys taking turns slapping each other until someone can't continue.
Oh my God.
This has got a suck. Welcome to the welterweights.
Oh.
Yep, that's it. And Dana is all in on this, using the UFC's massive social media following to promote it, and even saying it will be bigger than the UFC one day.
And some of you were there.
Really?
In the early days. I said, this will be the biggest sport in the world. This will be bigger than the UFC.
Now, Dana is not a stupid man, but his love for Power Slap can only be explained in two ways. He is either conflicting Power Slap's viral videos for genuine interest in the sport, because he constantly talks about how many views Power Slap gets on social media.
It's the most successful thing that I have ever been a part of in my career in such a short amount of time. In 16 months, this thing's only 16 months old. We have more followers than like the NHL, PGA, NASCAR, and many, many others. And we're about to take over Major League Baseball, too, here pretty soon on all social platforms. And billions of views in just 16 months. The EBITDA on this thing is off the charts. The revenue is unbelievable. And we have more sponsors in 16 months than the UFC had in 8 years.
However, the reason why it gets so many views is the same reason why any other street fight would, or why someone falling off of a bike would. It's a short dopamine boost that gets lost in endless feeds of...
Oh, you know what it is? Because you know how like a lot of like today's era, people have short attention span. So UFC could be long, right? It could be long. The slabs could be a lot more shorter. So people will pay attention more to that compared to a fight in UFC. They found like a short format for fighting. So instead of like a full-on fight with like boxing and UFC, you got slaps. Oh, man.
Bite-sized content that will be forgotten faster than it took to watch the video.
This will be bigger than the UFC.
No chance. As an average person that turns on the TV and I watch Power Slap, I'll tell you what I do. I watch match 1 and it's the same. I watch match 2, it's the same. I watch match 3, it's the same. And I watch 4 to 7. Somebody gets slapped in the face and they're done. That's it.
Tell me what's the same about each match you watch.
Somebody raises their right hand. They then make direct contact with somebody's face. And then somebody either falls or they don't.
Nobody respects power slappers. They just want to see them get knocked out, which
Yeah.
is why his excitement for the sport is probably just him seeing dollar signs. He knows power slap will not be bigger than the UFC. He just sees it as another event he can
just
host
saying
around
that.
the world to sell overpriced tickets, food and drinks, and attract corporate sponsorships willing to put their logo on something that will go viral on TikTok. Power slap has taken up a significant amount of Dana's time since he is hosting press conferences and filming promotional segments for it. He's even
I feel like this is like his crypto coin, his power slap.
using UFC resources to promote the league, but fans felt his lowest move was him resorting to hiring an OF model to give away a supercar as a promotional tool for Power Slap.
Really?
And again, from a business standpoint, I can see why Dana White is bullish on this league. To be a Power Slapper, you don't need to be an elite athlete. You don't need years and years of dedication, discipline, and training. You just got to be strong and confident enough to throw a hard slap and take a hard slap. This opens
I can't do it,
the
guys.
door for an endless amount of tough guys and girls around the world who want to participate and have their moment.
It could be
at what
your
feels
everyday
like a legitimate
person.
sport. The barrier to entry to become a competitor or a fan is extremely low because it takes absolutely zero brain power to understand. In the future, nothing complicated will survive. We're moving toward a culture where
It's dumbing down. Like, we as a culture are becoming more stupid and stupider every fucking day. And I have a video to watch after this. They're going to showcase how I saw the thumbnail. About 40% of Americans don't even know how to read. How's that even possible?
depth is a liability, and the most successful forms of entertainment will be the ones that demand the least from your brain. No rules to remember, no strategies
I know
to
that guy.
memorize, just loud sounds, fast edits, and instant gratification. Power Slap is a perfect symbol of the future, where nuance dies, and whatever can go viral in 10 seconds will always beat out anything that takes time to understand. It's not just a sport, it's a depressing reflection of where human attention is headed, and there's no turning back.
Yep. Exactly what it's short media fight, pretty much. No attention span fight, pretty much. It is what it is, dude. Sci-fis are something that you and your friends would do while drunk, but make it as a pay-per-view is just ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I don't really see that making a lot of money. Like, if it's fresh and new, yeah, I can see that for a short term, but not for long term. I can see a slap thing going into more of an underground thing again, not a mainstream thing. We got Patrick talking about the downfall of UFC. That's how you know it's bad. Power Slap is the predecessor of Ouch My Balls from the documentary Eaters. For $80, I usually don't decide to watch a fight. So let me get this straight. Nick Diaz was banned for 5 years for smoking marijuana, robbing him of his prime, robbing his fans, seeing many great fights, but Sean O'Malley openly admits he's smoking weed and is one of the UFC's biggest stars. It's time and place, you know, time and place. Was. Every time I see Dana White and press him nowadays, it looks like he just doesn't give a fuck anymore. I feel like he lost his motivation. You know? I feel like he lost his motivation. He should just pass the torch to somebody else at this point. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I watched a slap bet, bro. Like, legit, I don't remember the last time I watched a slap bet. I mean, oh my god, a UFC fight. A UFC fight that I was excited to watch, you know, like, because I was very curious about it. Like, I wasn't, like, really into them, don't get me wrong. But I remember, like, they make them exciting, dude, sometimes, where it's, like, very hard to, like, deny it. Like, legit hard to deny the show, you know? Yeah, dude, it's just crazy how a lot again it's affecting WWE too as well, because I believe UFC and WWE are under the TKO umbrella, and WWE is also having problems right now too with this kind of stuff with sponsorships. Like, they're getting a bunch of sponsorships, becoming more corporate. It's becoming, like, it's still fun to watch here and there, but it feels different now, like a bad different right now. I don't know. I don't know.